Hi, I'm Jen Rubin, editor-in-chief at the Contrarian. I'm delighted to welcome back Representative Mikie Sherrill from the great state of New Jersey, where I was born. Welcome back.
Thank you. I like how you named this show after my youngest daughter. That's great.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to someone who is not only in the House, but also running for state office, because that's where we need strong leadership as well. Let me start with the House and specifically the latest unbelievable blunder, atrocity, misstep, however you want to characterize it, by the administration, where you have the Secretary of Defense literally putting out the timing, the squadron that are being used for an impending attack. You were a Navy pilot. Tell us what that means and how anyone could be confused as to whether this is really the most closely held secrets that we have.
Yeah, this is every single thing about this is just points to complete incompetence, incredible national security violations and dangers. And if you can imagine this, this is just the rock thrown, right? The ripples that go out from here are as bad or worse than the initial blunder. So by that, I mean, you have people on that signal chain that were evidently in Saudi Arabia, possibly not just in Moscow, but inside the Kremlin. And so it's unclear where the devices were that they were using, who had access to those. I don't think anybody credibly thinks that if you have a device inside the Kremlin, that a foreign adversary doesn't have access to all the information on that device. I don't travel with my personal phones. I always have a burner phone. Having traveled years ago to Moscow, I can tell you that the OPSEC required to go there is very, very high. To think that somebody would be, texting someone there on a signal chat with our nation's secrets is shocking. And then beyond that, when I talk about these ripples, we're talking about not foreign adversaries, but foreign allies. Nobody is going to be sharing intelligence with us. I would recommend, were I in, or in the intelligence community of any nation, I would say cut it out with the U.S. right now. They are an unreliable ally. They will, they won't hold the secrets well. So the coordination going on is at risk. And intelligence sharing is at risk. This just makes us weaker. This has long been one of the things I've been railing against the previous Trump administration, now this Trump administration, is how weak they are making us with this incompetence. And so, yeah, I'm incredibly disgusted. There are people on this chain that should know better. And the fact that you have Gabbard and Ratcliffe lying to Congress, the fact that you have, Mike Waltz saying he's going to take full responsibility and then suggesting some weird conspiracy, like they don't know how the reporter got into their signal chat. I'm like, hey, Mike, call me up. I'll tell you how a chat works. Like, you invited him. That's how he got in. So you can't take full responsibility and then allude to some conspiracy. The whole thing is enraging me. And, I think the national security experts across the country are both, one of the comments I got from a former general is, it's a clown show, but it's also very, very dangerous.
Exactly. One last question on this. In private, do any of your Republican colleagues express concern, shock, embarrassment? Is there any recognition among Republicans, or are they just so deep in the MAGA cult that they can't express any contrary views?
So I think luckily we've seen some in public, like Senator Wicker.
Yes, that was today. That was
Certainly,
interesting.
Mike Rogers is not holding hearings as he should on armed services, which I've called for and continue to push for. I think at this point there is just such a co-opting of the party by Donald Trump, and you aren't seeing even credible people. If you're not seeing it in public, in the past, I would have told you what's going on in private. Right now, you just have to look at some of these town hall meetings that my Republican colleagues are having, and the weird talking points they're using. Even people that you would say formerly you would have said maybe moderates, maybe thoughtful people, the weird talking points that they are using in town hall meetings directly from MAGA, it's really it's really becoming egregious. I'll tell you, just like the fact that we had a vote on the floor of the House to take away Medicaid from millions of people, and we only needed 3 Republicans to kind of cross over and say, whoa, 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 this isn't good. And we couldn't do that everyone was so in lockstep. And now you have like Tuberville and you have Justice from West Virginia saying, oh, this will be devastating to everyone. And yet again, I don't think we're going to see any movement there. In fact, we're starting to see the Senate coalesce around the House bill, which was very, very bad. So all of this is to say that Trump right now seems to have coalesced the Republican Party in his, behind him in a really dangerous and competent way, which, and we'll get to it later, I know, but which is one of the key reasons I'm running for governor here in New Jersey. This is the first race, along with Virginia, where we can weigh in on this. And I think the key will be making sure Democrats prevail and do really well here in New Jersey and in Virginia. And that'll be a shot across the bow of this administration, and maybe start to divide, or maybe start to have Republicans show a little spine when they realize how angry the American people are with these attacks on our national security, these attacks on our economy, these attacks on working people, these attacks on just the cost of eggs, for God's sake, and safety in our skies. I mean, just the incompetence is becoming so dangerous that I think people are taking note.
Exactly. So let's talk about New Jersey. The president and his infinite economic illiteracy just imposed a 25% auto tariff. Other tariffs, we're going to expect tariffs in retaliation. How are New Jerseyans relating to the economy, the uncertainty? What are you hearing from ordinary voters?
Yeah, so I think the Wall Street Journal, as he started to implement his tariff against Canada, called it the dumbest trade war in history. And again, that's no kind of liberal rag. So
Right.
I think you're hearing as people weigh in on these just constant attacks, and the people who pay the price are working people.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Trump and his billionaire friends can continue to afford cars. But as we're seeing, our supply chain runs throughout North America right now. And if we want to change that, we can have a conversation about that. But to institute a trade war, which will immediately raise the cost of vehicles when they've already gone up significantly, to continue to attack costs as we're trying to drive them down for working people in the wake of inflation, to see our stock market, which is now performing incredibly poorly. It was performing under the Biden administration well above markets in Western Europe. Now it's well below both Germany and the UK. So we're seeing all of this, and then to have somebody talk to the president about a possible recession, to have the president sort of shrug and be like, yeah, that might be coming. Oh man, as you're trying to make sure that you are stabilizing the economy. And I guess the feeling in New Jersey is largely, things weren't great. I wasn't real pleased, but it felt like we were starting to stabilize. It felt like we were going to have that soft landing we heard about, where we could start to actually see prices start to come down. We could see how we are going to invest in the future, how we're going to build homes, how we're going to drive down the cost of utilities, how we're going to start to really address the healthcare system here. It felt like we were ready to kind of do some of that second tier work once we had gotten out of the COVID crisis and the economic crisis from that. And this is just sort of, for no discernible reason, now plunged us into economic uncertainty. And like I said, a possible recession, which now we're all concerned about as we're trying to drive down costs and invest in working families.
to trying to ace out Congress and to ignore the courts, the Trump team also seems to forget that we have a federalist system, and they are issuing these executive proclamations that they're going to take over the election system. They are trying to condition funding on all of their extreme policy provisions. If you're governor, how do you separate New Jersey from the harms that are befalling it? And what can you realistically do to protect New Jersey voters in terms of everything from healthcare rights to voting rights?
Yeah, so I think we're really lucky in New Jersey. We have as I look at, for example, voting rights, we have a Democratic governor and a Democratic legislature. I do think we can protect voting rights in New Jersey. And by voting rights at this point, to a large extent, I just mean making sure we can actually run a legitimate, fair election free from any of the ways in which the Trump administration has quite openly suggested they are going to undermine it, and then trying to say that they did undermine it. The attempt by the president to suggest that our democracy is not sound and that he is actually the architect of making it unstable is shocking to me. But it shouldn't be, I guess. He tried to stay in office despite a Democratic election in his last presidency. So we can see the disdain he has for democracy and the disdain, the attempt he has to grow close to people like Putin and President for Life Xi. So I think that's really important as a state like New Jersey, that we can actually run a secure election and have people have faith in our election system. We also are lucky. New Jersey would be the 22nd largest economy in the world if it was a country. So we can run our economy, and we do have a big powerhouse of an economy that does not rely on federal largesse. In fact, we're a net donor state. So we can't, we do have that advantage. We certainly are relying on the federal government to continue to pay into systems that they run, like, for example, Amtrak and the Gateway Tunnel Project. These are programs of national significance that affect the whole Northeast corridor that Congress has designated for New Jersey. So we will see if those hits start coming. But I guess when I see how many schools and law firms and businesses have caved to MAGA and to Trump, have sort of given up their values simply to protect themselves, I actually think that's the short-term play that is going to cause real long-term harm for them and for the country as a whole. And by that, I mean, nobody wins when you're playing with Trump. Trump is like, betting against the house, right? Somebody said to me, it's a 3-card Monte game that nobody wins, right? That's how Trump rolls. I mean, we've seen it here in New Jersey. He declared bankruptcy, I think, about 4 times in Atlantic City, left everyone else holding the bag. And so I think this obsequiousness, this kind of bending the knee to Trump never ends well for people. And so I think there is a sense by a lot of people, we just have to, kind of do the performative things and we'll get what we want. It doesn't work out that way in the end. You still get kind of taken at the end of the day. And then you have both lost your credibility, you've given up on your values, and you still actually have received a great deal of harm from the administration. So I think that's what people have to wrestle with. And I think the more people that understand that and that are willing to stand strong and that are willing to negotiate, I'm not suggesting, governors should go out and try to find ways to get in a big fight with the administration. I think that's foolhardy and a waste of time and energy. I think what governors have to do is stand strong for their states, their values, and push back against the horrible things we're seeing coming, because Trump does not believe in anything other than, I think, autocracy. So he's suggesting getting rid of the district court system, one of the branches of government. He's ignoring court orders already. When people say we're facing a constitutional crisis, we're really in a constitutional crisis. It is up to us now to figure out a pathway forward. And I think it's the state governors that need to do that.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue. there are Democratic governors who can set a model for good governance when there's chaos in Washington, D.C., and work on real problems. Two issues that come to mind that I know are very important for New Jersey voters are first, education, which New Jersey has always been a leader in, and secondly, home prices and housing. Talk to us a little bit about the things that you can do as a Democratic governor to make those things better and protect the quality of life for New Jersey voters.
Sure. So I think when we look at our school system, we have some of the best public school systems in the nation, and that's something we're very proud of. It's the reason a lot of people want to raise their children in New Jersey. It is also the reason a lot of businesses are located in New Jersey. I hear time and time again, whether we're talking about high-end defense manufacturing, space manufacturing, pharmaceutical manufacturing, medical device manufacturing, you name the industry. I hear time and again that leaders of those companies cannot find a workforce as educated as the one that New Jersey provides. It is key to our economy. It's key to the opportunity we provide for our kids. It's how families flourish and move from, poverty into the middle class and or have a stable middle class experience for themselves and their kids and their future. So it's really incredibly important. That said, we have got to get some of the costs down. We just really do. About 70% of the town's budget often goes towards education. And I think what we need to focus on is making sure that that money goes to students. So things like high intensity tutoring to help kids get back on track if they sort of fall behind. Teachers, we are facing a teacher shortage. I think we really need to make sure we're supporting our teachers and investing in great teachers, and our school buildings. We have some of the oldest school buildings in the nation. We've had in my town, the stairs collapsed in the high school. We've seen in Patterson, a ceiling collapsed at one of the elementary schools. So we really do have to make sure we're investing in some of our school buildings. What we spend a lot of money on, I'd say too much money on, is the administrative costs, because we have so many different municipalities. So we really do need to talk, especially to some of those municipalities who are losing population and don't have a lot of school kids. I'm a mom of a 2007 baby. That was a population boom. So I can tell you, because of what I just said, they are now graduating from high school. So we are going to start to see some of the numbers go down in some of our schools across the state. We need to be thoughtful about projections going forward, where we're going to spend our money well. And then we also have to look at colleges. We have to look at stacking degrees, how people are going to afford that, because right now Rutgers is one of the best schools in the nation, one of the best state schools. It's still very expensive, especially for that in-state college tuition. We want to make sure that in-state people can go to our great New Jersey institutions. And I'll tell you, it's really important, because here's the thing. We do such a great job educating our kids that every college in America seems to want them. I hear from parents in New Jersey, they're like, I can't go anywhere to a college orientation that I don't see like 5 other New Jersey families. I mean, I can tell you mailboxes are full of, come to this one, come to that one. And when kids go away to college, the chances of them coming back to work in our workforce aren't as good as if they go to school right here in Jersey. So we really need to make sure that people have that opportunity. It's good for our schools. It's great for our businesses. It's, all the investment we put into our children, we want to get back in a, great innovation. So that's really important, as well as we drive down those costs. And then home building. That's key. You've probably seen a lot of the talk about the abundance theory. That's kind of going around a lot of areas where we think about what the future looks like under Democratic leadership. And part of that is making sure, we address costs for people. And the biggest cost most people have is their home, either the mortgage they pay or the rent they pay. And because New Jersey is, I think, about second worst in the nation right now in home inventory in 2024, we have seen housing prices skyrocket. We've seen so many people priced out of the market that they're in the rental market. So now, I've talked to a retired woman in Patterson who had to take another job in retirement. She had to start working again so she could stay in the apartment she'd been in for years. I talked, to a single mom in Middlesex County who had to leave the apartment she'd been in with her kids to move into another school district, and taking her kids out of the district they'd been in their entire life because of rising rental prices. And that's not to even, we haven't even gotten to the mortgages. I mean, a young couple who, the guy grew up in Livingston, there's nowhere he can afford there. He's looking an hour outside Livingston, and they're still missing, they're still getting outbid on every single house they try to bid on. And they are, they have gone hundreds of thousands of dollars above what they anticipated they would pay. So we've got work to do, but we also have, we have the most densely populated state in the nation. And we have rules on permitting that are, driving up the cost of building significantly, and not giving permitting really in thoughtful ways or in the right way to build more. And we have a climate disaster that's impacting New Jersey really significantly. Two of our counties, Atlantic and Ocean, are some of the most flood-prone counties in the nation. We just had forest fires in New Jersey, which I'd never seen. Significant problems there. So we really have to be thoughtful about where we're building. It's not just the fact we need to build about 200,000 more homes. Where are we going to do it? We have a lot of older, underutilized spaces. I like to say this is the state that built the nation in the Industrial Revolution, and now we have some of the scars to prove it. So we need to remediate some of these areas so we can build out the future that we need, while at the same time not building on wetlands, not building in areas where there's no access to transportation or grocery stores, that kind of thing.
Well, it sounds like you have a very clear vision of what you want to do. I know the New Jersey primary comes rather soon, and you're getting out there on the road. So best of luck, and we'll check back with you. Thank you for your service in the House, and we hope New Jersey stays strong, because I love my home state. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you. And if anyone wants to find out more about the campaign, we're at www.mikiesherrill.com. And I really have enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Take care.